This is music, and this is Collecting in Style. In the last video in this series, I talked about OGs versus reissues. And there's kind of like a similar thing going on, I think, when it comes to media, that you got kind of like the CD versus vinyl. And then, of course, you have the cassette tape kind of making its way back. And you have some people that even kind of like go for 8 tracks and things like that. So in this video, I want to kind of talk about that, kind of the different formats. So there's some people that prefer vinyls, right? That's their main thing. And there's some people that are more like into CDs. It seems like the CD is actually, it's having a resurgence too, right? So it seems like maybe physical media in general having a resurgence, which is great. I mean, personally, well, I'll get to that. So the CDs, it's technically normally CDs versus vinyls, but you also have cassette tapes and I guess the digital format, that's what I was getting to. That's another format. So some people prefer, they prefer vinyls. Some people prefer CDs. There are some people out there, you can see that the channels on YouTube that are kind of like a mix of things. I like everything, and there are people that prefer the digital format as well. So where do I fit in here? Right now, I actually don't have any preferences. I really appreciate the physical format because it's physical, it's visual, right? You can look at it like oh, that's a fun cover art. For example, that one here, right? And you can sort of hold it, look at it, appreciate the artwork. The same thing with the CD, although it's not blown up as much. And one thing that I find kind of fascinating actually is the different media, the different physical media, and the way the artwork is presented. With CDs and albums, like vinyl albums, very often they can just like blow up or scale down the artwork. And then, as Scott Waters has pointed out in a couple of his videos, because he's like a graphics designer, right? So he cares a lot about that sometimes when you just blow it up, it becomes grainy and doesn't look good. I don't remember which one. I'll show it in a video eventually, but I bought some of the Running Wild reissues on Noise, and a couple of them were just like obviously the CD that had been blown up and it was all grainy and so on and so forth, and it didn't look nice. But I appreciate that about the physical media, that it's like a package, it has a visual aspect to it, and to me the visual part of this package actually has an influence on how I experience the music, right? I don't know if you guys feel the same, but that's the case for me, for sure. So I really appreciate physical formats like that, and I think it's interesting to see again how do they go about releasing a cassette and presenting the artwork for that, compared to the same artwork for a CD or record, for example. I think that's just fascinating, to, I guess, from maybe from the perspective of graphic techniques or so. I don't know. I'm not a graphics designer or anything like that, but I think maybe I am very visually minded, perhaps. Anyways, that's a different story, perhaps. Now, there was a time actually when I preferred the digital format, and that was at a time when I worked quite far away from when I lived, so I was always on the go. Had a very long commute and a very complicated commute with lots of different types of transportation. So I really appreciated just having my iPod. I have still an old iPod Classic, just full of music that I could listen to while on the go. So there was a time where I actually preferred the physical media, and at that time I would pick up a lot of CDs and do a lot of blind buys in local CD stores, because it was before the CD went out of fashion. Now it seems to be coming in again, as I mentioned, which is cool. And I would digitize them and then just put the CDs away until I had such a big stack of CDs that it took up too much space. I didn't throw them out, but I had to reorganize the way I stored them. And I would buy actually a lot of just digital releases at the time, and it served the purpose of providing me with music while I could be on the go, right? Then I was lucky enough to find a job in the same town where I lived, so that wasn't that necessary. I still appreciate listening to music on the go, of course, but I actually listen more to podcasts for some reason. I started doing that over the last couple of years. So I sort of went back to appreciating the physical media a bit more, and started, picking up more CDs and more vinyls again. So I guess in my case, I don't really have a preference. It depends more on, I guess, life circumstances. I like the digital format very much for when I'm on the go, right? So I still really love that format. It's nice, but it doesn't have the physical part the visual part that a physical format will have. With listening to vinyls, because that's also kind of different for me, listening to a vinyl from listening to a cassette or listening to a CD. When I listen to vinyls, very often it becomes almost like a kind of a mindful experience. Like, I sit down, I have the physical part, the jacket, the inner sleeve, their lyrics, and I look at that, and I listen to the music, really focus on it. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that at some point I have to go up and flip over the record, so I focus a bit more on it. That's not the only way I listen to vinyls, of course. I mean, I've had a very busy couple of weeks finishing off a lot of work before the holidays started, and during that time I would just put a record on the turntable and listen to it while working. So I don't have to listen to vinyls like that, but generally listening to a vinyl release to me is a bit more of a mindful experience, whereas listening to a CD, that's more like just having some great music in the background while I do stuff. Listening to cassettes, I don't know yet. I can imagine it's going to be somewhere in between. So the medium, my listening style is also different from medium to medium, right? Digital format, on the go, just some background music to keep me, I guess, entertained while I get from A to B. Vinyls, a bit more of a mindful experience, like focusing a bit more, concentrating a bit more, looking at the lyrics, trying to read the lyrics while listening to the music at the same time, perhaps. CDs, a bit more background music. I can sit down. I do that sometimes, with new CDs, of course, sit down, look at the booklet and so on and so forth. And actually, I gotta be honest, I kind of prefer CD booklets to vinyl booklets, because they're a bit big and difficult to kind of handle, right? Whereas the CD booklets are kind of small, so I actually kind of prefer that. And I know when it sort of comes to CDs, let's just go to that medium. There's kind of like not a war or battle going on, because people like what they like, and they respect that other people don't like the same format as they do. But there are people that seem to prefer the jewel case over digipacks, and I think it's because in many digipacks, if it has like a plastic tray, the glue might, the adhesive might at some point give out, and the plastic tray will fall out. And of course, the ones where it's kind of like you slip the CD into some kind of pocket or something, it can actually scratch up the CD. So it seems that a lot of people kind of prefer the jewel case to the digipack. Um, and then you have the digibook, of course, and you have like jewel cases with O cards and slip cases, a lot of different things. But I don't know. I think maybe I prefer the jewel case because I can throw it out, to be honest, because that's what I've had to do. I've had to transfer my CDs to plastic pockets that are sort of designed to protect the CD, and throw out the jewel case, not the booklets and all that stuff. I keep that, and with digipacks and digibooks and O cards and things like that, I don't really like throwing them out because I feel like they're part of the package. So I store them very securely in some tubs in a storage room. But I like digipacks and things like that a bit better just because of the texture, right? So the tan, what should we call it? Kind of like the tangibility of it, the texture, the touching part of it. I like that better when it's made from cardboard, and it's also, I think, better for the environment than all the plastic. So, and at the end of the day, I think it's kind of important. So, but I don't have a preference when it comes to digipacks versus jewel cases. The slight preference might be that I can ditch the jewel cases. I can throw them out into the bin, and knowing that it'll be recycled as some other kind of plastic product. Anyways, that's vinyls versus CDs. Thanks for watching.